But anyway, my wife was happy because I came home yesterday and the house just looked immaculate. And she's just standing there, and I thought, wow, what a job. And she said, oh, I didn't do this, so which also didn't surprise me. Well, anyway, do you want to start on your dream? Or I mean, we can get going on it.
Sure,
Yeah, okay.
sure.
Well, I mean, it's I'll just start because you know what the dream is, but I just want to go over some of the figures, and you can maybe tell me what you think. Okay. All right. Now, first, I mean, this is just such an interesting dream because it's so unusual for the dream ego to adapt this type of for the dream ego to show up as such a figure that is not our regular ego. So what does that mean? And I am a little orphan boy. Okay. So that's what I'm saying is very unusual. So what is an orphan? It's someone who has no parents, no father. Uh, their birth is mysterious. Their upbringing is mysterious. And they usually, of course, in Jung's. I'm going to read that one more time. This, and you were associating with the Telesphorus anyway. Did you get that from the Orphan Stone by Jung? I
I
mean, have
don't
you
know.
ever heard?
I started reading Jung in the '70s.
Mhm.
Memories, dreams, and reflections.
Yeah,
Uh, and when I heard about Telesporus, I way back then I was always fascinated with him. He was my favorite archetype,
yeah.
and
Well,
I used to have like visions of him. Like
the
I got some
hooded.
kind of connection with
Well, and
Telesporus.
and and Jung said that he had, a lot of people had visions of this hooded dwarf, that was, in Switzerland, you know. So there was this aspect of the orphan stone that was, very. Let me just show it here. Oops. Let's see here. Let's just get it up here. Oh, darn it.
Yeah, I remember
Mhm.
reading something about where these things would be placed along the coast.
Mhm.
They didn't have like lighthouses and stuff. They sort of protected ships from running into shallow water near the coast.
Well, yeah, and Jung had a dream about,
They have a light there.
yes, he's carrying a lantern and a torch. See, now his torch is pointed up, and then he has the sign of Mercurius. You can
Right.
see up above is the moon, and then there is the sign. It's just the sign for the spirit Mercurius.
Yeah, and that's the symbol for Mercury in astrology too, like a
Yeah,
circle with a horn,
yeah,
two
and on the
horns.
left is the sun, and on the right is the moon.
Yes.
And then what that says basically is, and the Telesphorus too is, I have another image of the Telesphorus, but the Telesphorus is this one in the Mithra that accompanies Mithra,
Yes, in
and
Mithra.
yeah, and it is. Let's see if we can find that. All right, let's see here.
He wears those like weird caps.
Yeah, yes, and they're pointed caps,
Yeah.
and there is another. I want to show one other thing too. If I can find it. Uh, it's the statue of the bull with Mithra. Let's see if we can find it. But I mean, that is where you see this being who is the guide of the lower worlds. I mean, he really is the guide of the lower worlds.
Yeah,
What?
chthonic. He's chthonic.
Yes, he's chthonic. And what Jung said was often interesting about um, about the uh, the Telesphoros is he's underground chthonic, yet he can be here he is the chthonic character, and yet he is found in in uh, on in Mount Olympus. And what Jung said was that the lower world longs for the light. You know. Oh wait, we got Carl and Dawn here. Okay, no, we didn't get started too much, but let me see if I can get that up here. Okay, here we go. Yeah, let's see this one here. Okay, now you can see the Telesphoros there, and they
with the fire, with the light.
yes, and normally there is one that points down and one that points up. Now they both have theirs up, but I think you'll see in other. And notice he wears the same cap, Mithra does. And this is actually also the same cap that is worn in the French Revolution. You know, I don't know if you know anything about the French Revolution,
right.
but Lady Liberty, let's see, wore that hat. It is this, just strange pointed hat.
Yeah, the French must associate it with liberty. That
yes.
hat. Yes.
Yeah, it is. I think you can see it here. Of course, this is not a good picture, but it is. Of course, it's. It is the execution of King Louis, I guess the 14th, or I'm not sure who it was. Louis the 14th, the Sun King. Yeah, and you can see they have these caps, that they wear, but there's just something about it that is. And then Jung has a famous. Hi, Carl and Dawn. We're just getting started on Roy's dream.
Nice. Hi, guys. Hey, Roy. Hey, Greg. Hey, Don.
Yes, hi. It's just that what we're going to look at is is he has a dream about. We're just starting with the fact that he's an orphan, So I just wanted to show one other picture here. That is. Ooh, Gary's here. Yeah, I didn't fall asleep this time. Isn't that amazing? Let's see. Hey, Gary. We're just getting started with Roy's dream, and it is. I think it's very important, really. I mean, it is because I mean, to start off with, I just want to say that what's unusual about it is that it is the dream ego is a little orphan boy. Now, isn't that unusual? I mean, that the dream ego would be a little orphan boy, and I was trying to find the picture of that Jung drew of the Telesphoros. Roy has associated it. He has had some identification with the Telesphoros for a long time, but he's associating the little orphan boy, not with a boy, but with a kind of a dwarf figure.
Yeah, I always looked at Telesphoros as a boy, a little boy.
Yes.
Even though he's portrayed as a dwarf, I never got that. That's not my that's not the way the archetypes always come to me, that I've had the archetype in my experience. So that always surprised me. You know, I sort of clash with that. But historically, you know, that's what it looked like, you know, and that's one of the, I think the main reasons for that is because these things could fit on the coast. They're really solid and level, and they're short. They could hang lights on them for the ships. So that's how that association came about, I think. But that might not be how the archetype manifests in the psyche.
Yeah. Hi. Okay, that's Patricia doesn't have her mic on today, but the what the Telesphorus is also called is the Kabiri, you know, which is this um, underground figure, which or a chthonic figure, which you know is a has this quality of being you know, first of all, a very neutral being. You know, it's not good or bad. This was one thing that Jung kind of mentioned about it, that these Kabiri, these spirits of the or the consciousness of the underworld could also be just as well seen on Mount Olympus, and you know, the highest place, because they were not there was nothing evil about them. They were just neutral. You know, and he also had a dream about them when he was first discharging Tony Wolf from his analysis, and he had a dream that there was a bunch of these Kabiri who picked her up, and they were going to take her inside the mountain. And he knew that if they did this, that he would never see her again. And so that is why he felt, amongst other reasons, that he needed to keep his contacts with her. And she became somewhat of like what they call a Hytera. I mean, she's sort of like a geisha. That's a Greek name for the for the geisha.
Oh, Craig, could you post Roy's dream to the chat?
Yes, I will. Yes, and there he is. See, she was the one that was going to be carried off by the Kabiri, you know, and the singing Kabiri too. They sang. All right, geez, what happened? I just left the meeting here. Yeah, just a second. I will post it in 1 second here. I'm just going to go back here to where, yeah, there we go. Okay, for a second, you'll get to see my, all right, there we go. Okay, now I'm going to post the dream here. Okay, so maybe I'll have to get it out of here. Okay. But anyway, it starts out that he's a little orphan boy, and it's just, don't you think it's very unusual to have a for the ego to be seeing itself, the dream ego, to be seeing itself as a orphan boy. Now, what the orphan is, we just talked about the Kabiri, or the Telesphoros, you know, but there's also an aspect of this that it is a being with no parents. You know, it has hi Ivan. Yeah, it has neither father nor mother, and typically, and of course, Jung actually says this out loud. You know, that it is. You know, here's his little thing from that orphan stone I showed. This is Telesphoros, who roams through the dark regions of this cosmos, roams through the dark regions of this cosmos, and glows like a star out of the depths.
See,
So-
doesn't that sound like something in the air? That could be something in interspace, like
Yes.
a comet. And that's
Yes.
where I got that from, even though you don't seem portrayed that way.
Yeah, and it's not a sun, it's not the moon, it's just this awareness that has an aspect that is elfin-like and fairy-like, and not animal, not human, you know. And Jung tells a story that sometimes when people were lost in the mountains, and either through an avalanche or they just got lost, and they're wandering and they can't find their bearings and they don't know how to get back, they would often see the Telesphorus coming over a snowdrift, and it might have been because they were had been there so long. But anyway, this is Telesphorus, who roams through the dark regions of this cosmos, glows like a star out of the depths, a star out of the depths. So it's just this pinpoint of light. He points the way to the gates of the sun. Now he does that with his torches and his lantern, and to the land of dreams. So now, if here he does, and he points his way to not only to the gates of the sun, but to the land of dreams. Isn't that sort of almost a contradiction? But now here's what he says. What the Telesphorus: I am an orphan alone. Nevertheless, I am found everywhere. So he's alone, but he's found everywhere. Now this sort of reminds me of the tavern with no customers. I'm alone, but nevertheless I'm found anywhere. And it also reminds us of the cat, who will be, and the orphan boy that always take care of themselves. They're alone, but nevertheless are found everywhere. I am one, but I am opposed to myself. So they contain the opposites. This is one that contains, I am one, but I'm opposed to myself. So I'm really participating in both worlds. Now that's mysterious. I don't know exactly what it means. But then he says, I am youth and old man at one and the same time. So he's both the child and the father at the same time. He's the grandfather and the grandson. He's timeless, and this reminds me of the line in the Nicene Creed that it's not begotten. The orphan is not really born; he's just here. And now this is the Tathagata. That's what they called the Buddha, the Tathagata, and what it means is the one thus come. It does. In other words, there's no explanation of its origin. So I'm just going through kind of this mysterious figure of the orphan. I have known neither father nor mother. I don't have parents. It wasn't raised by parents. I'm this being with no parentage. So my you're kind of your own ancestor, and because I've had to be fetched out of the deep like a fish. Now that's like the star out of the depths, or I fell like a white stone from heaven. So there's this aspect of it that it just appeared here unexpectedly. It just fell like a white stone out of heaven. It just jumped in my boat from the water. That's the orphan boy. He fell like a white stone out of heaven. He's like a fish that jumps in our boat. In woods and mountains I roam, but I am hidden in the innermost soul of man. So there's an aspect of it that it's outer nature and inner nature. And this sort of is represented too by, I think, the tavern that's open to the streets. You know, it is has the borderline between the tavern and the outer world is not definite. You know, it's sort of a grayish area. I am mortal for everyone, yet I'm not touched by the cycles of ions. So he's both mortal but not touched by time. You know, I mean that's a very very so the orphan all in all is a very mysterious figure. You know, I mean it's just like you know we don't and the fact that the dream ego chooses this, you know, Roy didn't choose this. The dream chose it, and yet Roy is has an identity with the orphan too. So anyway, so now we're in a tavern where we are welcome. So this is the place for travelers. I roam the mountains, you know, but I roam. Uh, I roam in the mountains, but I'm hidden in the innermost soul of man. You know, it kind of reminds me of that. You know, this fact that we're welcome in the place for travelers. You know, and the travel and the tavern, of course. You know, it usually I don't know. You know, a tavern now could just be a bar, but it used to be a tavern was a place in on a lonely road that was open to people who didn't have a home, you know, temporarily. So they would stay at the tavern, you know, tavern and which was also an inn, you know. So it's a place to eat, to drink, and for the homeless people like an orphan, it's a place of refuge, you know. So and the doors are open to the street. So this is like this idea of the outside world and the inside world are intermixed. You know, I roam the mountains of the world, but I also live in the innermost soul of man. So I'm in the inner world and the outer world. It still has this sort of ambiguous character of the orphan. You know, now it is late afternoon, so the sun, the solar world is in decline, and we're approaching uh, the lunar world. Okay. Now, no customers are there, so it's a very mysterious. You know that the only person in the tavern is us. It's empty of the collective. It's isolated from people. It's very lonely there, even though it's a refuge for the orphan boy. Now, they let me practice a trumpet there. Now, isn't that a surprising element that's added to this? You know, now the trumpet, it's not a flute, it's not a violin, it's not a piano. You know, it is something that awakens. You know, it has this like the hunting horn of Finn McCool or the hunting horn of Siegfried. You know, it's sort of this. It has two aspects. One, it announces our presence, and the other one it is something that wakens, like Gabriel's horn. You know, but you know, if it's a herald, you know, as the king comes in the royal chamber, the trumpets are blown, you know. So it has an aspect of saying, I am here, you know, I am here, you know. I mean, this that it's just a very interesting sound, you know. Why would, and of course, it's also the hunting horn. The hunting horn is we blow it so that the people that we know where the fox, so there's a connection between the foxes and the people riding after the foxes, you know. So now they let me practice the trumpet there, and so and we're with the gray cat. Okay, now the gray cat is of course a feminine figure, but it's a theoromorphic form. You know, it's the animal form of the feminine. And often Roy has these in his dreams. Is this this more elemental feminine figure in his dreams. Now it's also gray, so it's neither black nor white. You know, it's a middle creature, like the Telesphoros. You know, it's and like the Orphan, it is neither black nor white. You know, the Telesphoros is this being who can be found on Mount Olympus or in the depths. You know, and so he's very elfin like. You know, we can't say he's good, we can't say he's bad. You know, and then suddenly, you know, the justice of the peace has been informed about our trumpet playing and wants us to stop. So to me, this is the old king. You know, the old ego is uh, is wanting to suppress this horn of the herald, either the herald of our presence here or the one that awakens, but it needs to be suppressed by the old king, so sort of a senex figure. So the ego, we're the orphan, we've separated from ego realm completely. You know, I mean, the fact that it's orphan automatically makes it um, the fool, you know, the one who separated from ordinary reality, you know, and what ordinary reality is coming in now to try to suppress it, you know. But the cat and I escape. We flee and we escape. So they we are again, we no one can contain us, you know. There is no way, and even the tavern didn't contain us. It's open to the street, you know, and so we're very free figures, you know. And the Senex is, of course, of a dead source. It's one that it doesn't have growth. See, when we're so open to the outer world, and we are so ambiguous, that means that we are not settled in our form, and that our form is very open to to adaptation to any situation. Now, this is kind of confirmed when we find that the cat is an orphan as well, and it lives below the dwelling place of the ego. You know, it dwells below a house, so it dwells below the dwelling place of the ego. Now we're going to leave her there, and we're somewhat concerned about her safety. But what does she say? She says, "I will be." Okay, let's just parse that. My identity, and will means it is something that has a future aspect to it. Be, you know. So it's also kind of saying, I am going to be, or I will become. You know, I will be now can also mean that I will remain and I will continue to exist. And I'm indestructible and nothing can harm me, you know, because I can't be reached by danger, you know. I'm something that's completely indestructible, although I won't be contained by the justice of the peace, you know. And then the dream ego says that we are both very experienced at being on our own and parentless. on our own and parentless. Okay, well, anyway, that's just to start. What do you think, Gary? Have you had a chance to assimilate anything on this?
I don't know, man. After what you had to say, I think I'm going to not add anything.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's well, I think the reason it just fascinates me, the role of the orphan. It has an aspect of it that's very unusual. And for the dream, that our dream ego is an orphan. Have anybody else had a dream like this before? That they were a little orphan boy. I'm trying to think of a dream where I know my identity is something greatly differing from who I am. I can't remember one, but how about you, Carl? Do you have any comments about it? You've been posting a couple.
Yeah, I'm listening to James Hillman, the Psychology of Alchemy right now.
Mm-hmm.
And right now we've been talking about the yellow stage, the white stage.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of feel like perhaps Roy is, well, I've really been in I was in a black stage for a long time, like just Negrado, a depression. Entered a white stage, and it's a place, it's really romantic, psychic, but I'm en route to the red stage. So in between that is yellow stage. So it's sulfuric. I wrote it down in the comments. Basically, I think he is possibly leaving this white stage, this pure, like childlike, lunar stage, and moving towards the red. He's entering the yellow stage right now, and so he's kind of leaving this anima figure in a way. Like when you're in that white stage, it's like you and the anima, you and that lunar, feminine, psychic beauty. And he's developing towards some other stage of psychologically.
Well, yeah, I would say actually the Telesphorus and the Kabiri. I'm just saying, in the way I kind of approach it, is it has almost the albedo is the spiritual aspect, where the negredo is the earthly aspect.
Mm-hmm.
And then the sulfuric aspect is energy, and then the rubedo, which Hermes Trismegistus, when he achieves albedo, he says it's not enough. His strength must be, and Hillman will say this too. His strength is perfected when it returns to the earth. So the highest color at the end is the color of blood, and the color of rubedo.
Oh, so yes, red.
Yeah. But anyway, what's interesting about it is I think that the little orphan boy represents the inner self.
Yes, definitely.
Of Roy. So Roy has established an identity with
That's
the
tremendous.
center. Yeah.
I'm just the only like real encounter I've had with the center. I was just like,
very much the stone that the builder rejected too. It's the one that the outer world despises.
Yes.
It has the outer world despises the orphan boy, and it hunts it down. But I think that this is a very unusual dream of wholeness. What do you think, Ivan? Do you have any comments about it?
So it occurs to me that this is an obvious statement, but a trumpet is kind of loud.
Yes.
It's used to announce something, and you have this kind of childlike figure that is trying to, well, not childlike, a child, was trying to announce something loud and is being silenced. And so it seems to me that maybe this figure of inner ego is trying to say something, but is being you know, there's no one there to listen, and it's still practicing. It hasn't quite developed this announcement yet, and it is being scurried away.
Yeah. Yeah, and the aspect of being a child is that it's a becoming thing. You know, life is a becoming thing. If anything stops, you know, Jung said that that the aspect of the unconscious is that it is always a yay and a nay. So the fact that it's both yes and no means it can move and it can grow. And the child has this aspect, I will be, it's like the cat says, also an orphan. You know, there's an aspect of it that it's transcended time, and it is the growing thing par excellence. You know, there's just this aspect of it, but it's also so timeless. You know, that Kabiri is well, you know, I would say that the orphan boy never grows old. You know, he always remains the same age. I don't think he's going to grow up. You know, so he seems to me like an eternal figure. You know, and yeah, and the trumpet aspect is so interesting. You know, because that is what the dream ego most objects to, is the trumpet quality. And the trumpet quality is the one that is a joyous celebration of our presence, you know. And no, we're not going to have any joyous celebrations of your presence, or any fabulous announcements of your existence. You're going to keep quiet, and if you don't, we're going to arrest you and detain you. You know, but the fact that we're so elusive, and remember, oh, you know, the what's the symbol on the cloak of the Telesphoros? You know, it's the spirit Mercurius. You know, it is the that changeable aspect. It's got both the moon and the sun, the feminine and the masculine. You know, it is the spirit Mercurius is on the very cloak of the orphan boy. You know, if it anything like Jung's orphan stone. Let me see if I can find that again. I never have good luck finding anything. But anyway, it is. If you see on the front of it, it has on the cloak is the symbol for Mercury. You know, let's see if we can find it. But anyway, and then what about the cat? Well, let's here. Patricia doesn't have her mic. Say anything in the chat you want to, Patricia, if you have any comments, and I'm sure you do as an extroverted feeling type. I loved everyone's Myers-Briggs tests. Those were so interesting, and yours as well, Dawn. And what do you about Sarah? Do you have any comments?
Yeah, I'm so glad that you didn't sprinkle poison on your gray cat.
Yes, we talked about that. And turn it white and kill it.
Yeah, I think I feel like the cat, it represents the wisdom of balance, of this new state of balance.
Always lands on its feet.
Right. Yeah, and it's something that you're becoming more comfortable in this new state of balance in the gray. The child, to me, represents the fact that it's something new. Maybe you're still something, you're still young in this new area of the middle, in the center, in the balance, in the gray, and having no mother and father. You're an orphan, so your wisdom comes from inside, no longer from an external mother and father, or I guess you could say religion or that type of thing. And now it comes from inside. It comes from your cat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The cat is the feminine wisdom. Yeah, the aspect of the that was wonderful, Sarah. I'm just there was something I was the fact that this image of let's just go through the amazing images versus the image of the orphan boy. Then is the image that he's homeless and he's in a tavern that is both in nature and it isn't really contained. He is associated with the trumpet, with the horn, of either herald or whatever. The outer world particularly objects to that aspect and wants to detain us. Well, that when we're fleeing, we're meaning we're not going to stop playing the horn. We're
And
not
the
going to
outer
say,
world
okay,
is
we won't play the horn if you leave us alone. No, he's saying that we're going to continue to play the horn. And
do you think the outer world is ego?
Yes.
Trying to hold back this,
Yes.
What you're trying to say, what you're trying to show to the world. The ego will try to protect you from doing something that is against the normal, and try to hold you back. But you won't be restrained anymore from the ego because you're freeing yourself from it. Because when you're in the gray, when you're in a state of balance, you're finally the most powerful you can be.
Yes, that's exactly right, and it's very important. The old king or this justice of the peace is that form of resistance. What is going to resist transformation is the ego. I mean, that's what we all experience. I mean, the fact that we don't sit around every day and do nothing but inner work and analyze our dreams and are so open to it, and maybe also the fact that we don't get visions, things, is because of ego resistance. You're not going to see visions. You're not going to play the trumpet. We're not going to awaken. Yeah, what's that?
It's a block. The ego is like a block.
Exactly.
Yeah. It will block you to protect you.
Yeah.
Well, it thinks it's protecting you. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the whole idea in alchemy and is that this inner transformational aspect of us is so dark and so covered with mire because the ego will not lend it any of its light, any of its attention. And I don't know if you've ever read Edward Edinger's book, The Living Psyche, but it's a one guy who drew a bunch of dreams, and what he often saw was the transformational feminine is a prostitute in the basement who is kept there by the owner of the hotel or something, keeps her prisoner down there. So this is that aspect of the dream, the old king Senex is going to keep imprisoned that aspect of us that's transformational. So that's kind of why we're not supposed to play the trumpet.
Can I add something real quick?
Sure.
That's kind of off the topic a little bit, because it reminds me of a dream I had a long time ago when I was a kid. I had a dream that I was a young man and I was running through the jungle and I was being chased by this man that was all white with long white hair. And he was like on this floating like machine, and he was chasing me. He was trying to get me, and I was running and I was swinging through the trees. I was really strong. I was really powerful, but it was like I was kind of like the young orphan being chased by the ego. And what's really funny is I jumped off of this waterfall and I went into the water, and underneath the water, there was a walrus who was playing the trumpet. So weird.
Wow.
Like your dream just reminded me of that kind of. But my orphan was running. It wasn't free. He was running. He was being chased by the ego. The ego kind of won. Yeah.
Yeah, and this is very different than your regular ego. I mean, that was what I couldn't remember a dream where I had that, what I was so unlike my regular persona. And the one you're giving is very much unlike your regular persona. And you go under, you go off on a big drop, you drop into the depths, and there is a walrus
Playing the trumpet.
playing the trumpet.
Yeah.
Isn't that beautiful? Well, what would that is a thing that we could spend an hour talking about, but it, but it is something. But there's the
But yeah, sorry, it just reminded me of that dream, so I had to share it.
well, yes, it's fabulous. I mean, it's a great aspect of the trumpet. You know, I don't know, trumpet dreams are very rare for me anyway. I don't ever remember having a trumpet dream. But anyway, so why don't we go over these? Or Roy, why don't you? Do you have any comments about this, or any extra things you could add?
Yeah, I came across this quote today. I thought it was pretty interesting relating to the dream. It's from the book Women Who Run with Wolves,
Yes.
Pincola Estes.
Yeah.
The
Clarice.
quote goes, this spirit child is La Nina Milagrosa, a miracle child who has the ability to hear the call, hear the far off voice that says, it is time to come back to oneself. The child is part of our medial nature that compels us, for it can hear the call when it comes. It is the child rising out of sleep, out of bed, out of the house and into the wind-filled night and down to the wild sea that causes us to assert, as God is my witness, I shall proceed in this way. I shall endure.
Now, where did that come from? Who said that?
That's a quote out of this book, Women Who Run with the Wolves.
But was
Nicole
that
Estes.
one of the women she interviewed, or who? As God is my witness. That was just such a powerful statement. Who said
It's
that?
on page 111 of that book. I don't know if you have a copy of it.
Yeah, but did she say
I
it,
haven't
or-
researched it.
Okay, all right. That's fine.
I think she said it.
Okay. Well, then
She's
good.
talking about these wild things. Now, the thing that we forget a lot about when we're doing dreams and visions is that when you're talking Jungian stuff, it's always a dyad. It's always a duplex. The self is always a duplex. And that's why I liked in this dream where it had like the Senex, the justice of peace. The dyad's in the dream. It's the same thing. It's the self. We forget about the thonic part and the spirit part of the self. It goes back and forth. It's like polar. And we often forget about the brighter the light, the darker the darkness. It has to balance. And so it was just a great relief in this dream to have the spirit, to have the young child, which is the future in the spirit and is hopeful and is bright, which is very different from the Senex. And,
Yeah, and you're one and you're opposed to yourself. I mean, that's
yes,
what
yes. And Telesporus represents that. It's a great example of a duplex. And that's a very important thing to remember. And when we're talking about a particular archetype, and when we're talking about the different goddesses, in that chart that you gave us, how they have their opposite, how they're all like a dyadic.
They're like a Taoist symbol.
Yes,
they
dyadic.
contain the black and the white.
Right.
And then it turns out
and
that
that's
they're neither.
The self's always like that. People think of the self as, oh, well, that's the eternal child. That's all good and stuff. That's all light. But that's totally one-sided. The self can be the darkest thing you could ever encounter. It's Yahweh and then Christ. It's the same thing. It's the self. It's Yahweh and Christ both. And it's going to manifest and dark and light. And we tend to repress the dark, and we don't work with it. But the dark is where you're really going to get freed. You're going to really free yourself to be individuated, because the dark part is going to be like a trickster, and you're not going to catch it. It's going to be keeping you in a holding pattern where you can't progress, where you can't get back into life. You can't individuate. It does it in a very subtle way. You'll see that in fairy tales and stuff like that. You know, once you name the dark one, then you get your power back. But you have to be very aware to see that dynamic going, to see that trickster in the background.
Well, all life is black and white, and it has this lunar gray aspect to it, where it is, you know, the what Hillman's calls the veil of tears. You know, that's the middle realm. That's the valley. You know, it is where soul resides. It doesn't reside in the albedo up at the top of the mountain. That's where spirit resides. But the veil of tears is more lunar, more human, really. Now, one of the things I think that you said about you were mentioning an instrument, weren't you, in the early part of that? Some kind of a music. Well, I mean, the idea here too is that the telos for us is the keeper of the horn of the center, the middle realm, that music of the depths. You know, it's sort of a master of the music of the inner world. You know, and the Senex wants us not to play the music of the inner world. And the
music, it's like the growing thing, you know, the transition, the growing thing, the transcendent function. And Senex doesn't want that to happen.
Yeah, and if you see an alchemical emblem of Gabriel blowing the horn, what he is really doing is he's awakening not the physical dead, he's awakening what is dead in us. So when Gabriel is blowing his horn, he's not awakening someone who has been dead for a long time. He's trying to do what is trying to awaken those aspects of ourselves.
We're asleep, you know, we're asleep
so long. Yeah,
yes,
they've been asleep so long, you know. Well, anyway, I think that is, I can't say enough of that dream. Why don't I go through it one more time? And then, Ivan, do you have a dream or not? I think we were working on one of your dreams, but I can't remember. It's a while ago, but let's just go over it one more time. That we're an orphan boy, which is unusual. So our origin is mysterious. Our origin is mysterious, and and we're really completely free of any entanglement. So there's this aspect that seems like it's the self, you know, and we're in the middle realm of a tavern, and where we're welcome in the middle realm, and in the Vale of Tears. And there we are, the keeper of this thing that awakens the depths. So let's call that the trumpet awakens the things of the depths, you know, and we are a Kabiri, and we're a creature of the depths. You know, we're a telos for us. Okay. The sun is setting, and we're practicing the trumpet with the feminine gray cat, the one that possesses, there's neither black nor white, it contains both. And but the ego wants to suppress the awakening by the trumpet of those inert aspects of the depths. It does not want us to awaken those. because then we are not going to be part of ego anymore. We're going to have we're going to expand consciousness so much. We're going to be like Patricia's toy boat that sails off to the right. So the ego does not want us to listen to the depths and have its vessel become empty of all contents and sail off to the right, because we've occupied a bigger boat and it's going in a different direction than ego. So so we know that that's not good for us. So we flee with the cat. And then we find the cat is mentioned also as an orphan, and it lives below the domicile of the ego. The cat does, and it's indestructible. It will be, not, and that's a mysterious statement, because it says, but I think it both says that no matter what, it's not subject to threats. And the other thing is, I will become, So there's an aspect, I don't know. I think I will be probably seems more true to the dream than I will become. But because why didn't it say I will become? It just says I will be. So there's this aspect of no matter what happens, I remain,
Endure.
And, right.
Endure.
I'm resistant to change. I mean, to any, nothing can harm me. Okay. So anyway, that's the dream. Anybody else got any more comments? I mean, something I would definitely like to sleep on, though. I mean, these are all so beautiful.
Great dream.
Yeah. Well, Ivan, do you happen to have a dream available or not?
I have a dream. It's a little bit spotty. I remembered like half of it.
Okay. Well, let's just start on it, and we'll try to see where we go.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I was typing this actually, so I'll put this in the chat once I'm done typing it. But
Okay.
So I'm a teenager at a high school. I'm in a cafeteria full of other students, and we're all doing a yoga class together. I'm in the back corner of the cafeteria. For some reason, I'm struggling with my flexibility like really badly, like where to the point I can barely move, and I keep getting pushed into the corner. And then the teacher kind of takes note of this in front of the entire student body, like in a concerned tone about if there's something wrong with me. And then later on in the dream, I'm outside, and a friend of mine has a brand new green bike that he's showing off. And I find a dead crow, or maybe it's a raven, on the ground nearby, and I just start rubbing its wing on my friend's arm. And that's when I woke up.
Wow. That is beautiful. I mean, it's just that last part is amazing. Now, often your dreams have a statement like that at the end, one that is completely surprising and sort of just, hits it out of the park. Okay. So we are at the place of the beginning. We're at the departure point, the high school, So this is, again, we're starting on we're going to circumambulate the self. And, Jung says, too, that when we go around something, we fertilize it. So, we start at the departure point, we go all the way around, come back to the circumambulation, and that fertilizes the center when we do that every time. So anyway, we're starting at the departure point. The high school. We're in our youthful figure. We are in a communal place, a place of nourishment too. It's a cafeteria, and they are doing a yoga class. So they're doing a class of sort of a stretching. What would you describe yoga as? I mean, yoga typically, means to yoke two things together. you know, it means to connect two things together. So when we're doing yoga exercises, what are we connecting together? I think we're connecting body and mind, you know. I think that's why it's different than doing jumping jacks, you know. I mean, there's an aspect of it that what yokes two things together, and that's what the word yoga means. And that's very similar to the word of religion. Religion comes from the word to connect again. Ligio means like the ligature, a rope, or a ligament, you know, the connecting tissue between bones, and it means to connect again. And what is it connecting again? It's connecting the disembodied ego with the source, with the with the mysterious 99.9% of us that we seem disembodied from, you know, which is the earth, our bodies, you know. So yoga is we're doing yoga. We're not doing jumping jacks. We're not doing deep knee bends. We're doing yoga. And yet we're in the back corner. Is that going to be the lower left or the lower right, would you say?
Lower right.
Lower right, okay. So it's lower right as we're facing towards the front of the class. It would be the lower left if we were on the front of the class looking at ourselves, you know. So I don't know. I always wonder what that means sometimes. Am I really on the left or am I on the right? It depends on which way I'm facing, you know. And we're very stiff. In other words, our ego and our body are not in very good sync, you know. In other words, our body is not fluid, and we can't really make it fluid, you know. And so it to me, it's a kind of a symbol of both our, it's just a bad connection with someone who can really do yoga is one who's practiced it a long time and then has a very good connection with the two things that are connected, you know. But we're novices and we're very stiff, so we can't really connect things together very well, you know. And so because of this, we keep getting more and more isolated into the corner. We keep getting pushed farther and farther into that place that is far from the front of the or from the master of connecting things together. We seem to be drifting off, you know, away from the person who can connect things, who's a master at it, you know. And this leader takes note, you know, of our stiffness and our difficulty in doing in connecting the body and mind together. Okay, so then we go outside and we see a green bike. Now, did I miss a part there? How did we get outside?
I don't, I guess the class is over, and just
Oh, the
outside,
class is over.
I have a friend and he's showing me his new green bike.
Okay, his green bike is going to be the rooted way of getting around the earth. It's connected with viriditas, you know, it's this blessed greenness. So it's connected with the sensation function, and yet it's this two-wheeled aspect that we can go across the outer world, but it seems to have a connection with the trees and the planted things, you know. So it's very earthy. You know, a blue bike would be very airy, but this is a green bike, you know. A green bike or a brown bike might be something that's a little more earthy. And so anyway, he's showing off his green bike. Our friend on the outside is acquainted with plants, and his vehicle of getting around is green in sympathy with the green world, you know, which is this kind of a rooted world. So his bike, his way of getting around, has a sympathetic connection with the plant world. Okay, and then Now, here's the mysterious end of the dream. We find a dead crow or a dead raven. So, what we're really finding is Young, after he had the dream with Philemon, who had the kingfisher wings, and he was the color of the kingfisher, and then he goes out and he finds a dead kingfisher right next to the lake, and they were not common around in Zurich, and it just freshly died. So the raven or the crow represents sort of this. It's not a white dove, it is an aspect of thought. Birds always represent something having to do with our heads, and and yet it is if it was Wotan's ravens, he had two ravens, and they came and told him all the secrets of the world. And if you look up the names of Wotan's ravens, there's a very interesting aspect of that. I can't remember what it was, but one was like future and one was past, or I don't remember.
Thought and memory.
Yeah, memory, and what was the other one?
Thought.
Thought and memory. Yeah. So one is thought, one is memory. So the raven is the aspect of thought and memory. Now what we are doing now, this one who has the bike, which is in sympathy with the plant world, is that the one that we're going to rub the wing of the dead crow or raven on?
Yeah.
Okay. So his way of acting, we are somehow going to magically anoint it with the wings of thought and memory, the wings of this black herald of thought and memory, and we're going to so the one with the green green bike, the one that getting around that is related to, in sympathy at least, to the plant world, our dream ego thinks needs to be united with the crow or the raven, whether it's dead or alive, and it's going to anoint this instrument of action of this plant world, and also compare the plant with the rooted world. I mean, the bird with the rooted world. The bird. Now, you see, I always have these dreams about woodpeckers. Okay, they're the spirits of the trees. They don't stray far from the trees. They're not an eagle. They're not a dove. Okay, so the crow is sort of this middle being, kind of a very trickster, along with the magpies and the blue jays and the crows and the ravens. They're all one family, and they're always all very intelligent and playful birds. They like to play, and they're very smart mimics. The blue jay learns the call of the chickadee mother, and then he'll make her little call, and when the little baby chickadee sticks its head out for a worm, it grabs it, flies off. They're just very smart. And anyway, what does it mean to rub the wing of the dead crow on the one with the green bike on his arm? It's a wonderful image, and it seems to be the culmination of this dream. So let me go through it one more time just to kind of get it, because I was we're at the place of the beginning. We are in the communal place. We are doing something that connects mind and body. Our body is too stiff to do it. And because it's too stiff, we keep getting farther and farther away from the leader of connecting body and mind. And the leader takes note of this. Then suddenly we're outside, and we are so from this so this second aspect follows from the first. There is a person out there with a green bike. So we're stiff, we can't connect body and mind. So suddenly we're outside. Here's the one with the green bike. So he seems to be kind of a symbol of someone who can connect, body and mind. And yet he's missing something, according to our dream ego. He's missing the what lifts thought and memory, and that would be the wing of the crow. So it might not. Was it a freshly? I hate to ask this. Was that freshly dead or raven or crow, or did it look like it was just lifeless?
It didn't seem. It didn't seem like decayed. I was actually trying to remember if it was the entire crow or just the wing. I was having a hard time.
Well, yeah, it could if it were just the wing, that would it wouldn't emphasize the fact that it was a deceased crow. Would just say that here is a wing of the crow or the raven. What do you think, Roy?
Yeah, well, the first part of the dream, he's sort of cornered. He's rigid. The teacher's trying to deal with the rigidity and points it out. And that sort of hooks up with the guy with the green bike who's trying to show it off.
Mm-hmm.
Well, these things the ego doesn't like, because these two entities are pointing out a weakness, a resistance, an obstruction, which is going to make the ego uncomfortable. And then to me, the crow and the raven are chthonic animals. The chthonic element appears. So they're sort of a dyad, the chthonic element and the more Apollonian element, and also the spirit in the body. The green is the sensation, and the chthonic element is the body. And so this reminds me of his house dream where he went down in the basement and there was a gym.
Yeah, several. That was weird.
It's something to do with his body.
Mm-hmm.
He has some kind of resistance, and it might be with the body. And, we've been talking about this. I always keep hounding Ivan with his trickster thing. Eli Guan is a trickster, and that's the chthonic element, the crow and the raven. It's trying. This thing's trying to balance. The teacher, and there's an obstruction, and it has to be resolved with a chthonic thing, which is being repressed. I don't know exactly what it is, but I keep picking up this dynamic with Ivan.
Once I nodded, weak and weary. You ever heard Edgar Allan's poem about the raven? On a
That's chthonic.
Dreary,
That's chthonic. He's so chthonic, it's unbelievable.
Many volumes of forgotten lore. As I nodded, nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping, as of someone gently rapping at my chamber door. 'Twas the raven, and he says nevermore.
That might happen to you, Craig, if you keep nodding off.
Yes. Well, the thing I thought about it is because you said it's a chthonic bird, and it really is. It's dark, it's black. And at least in Edgar Allan Poe's Raven, it represents the death of his girlfriend, who's Ellen Snore, or forget what her name was, but it was a harbinger, not a trumpet, but it's a harbinger of the realm of the ancestors, if you could try to put it in a positive light. What do you think, Gary?
Well, I liked what Roy had to say on this, but the rigidity and being pushed into a corner. I mean, this feels like such a it's really a description of a situation. And the cafeteria, a place that would normally be very nourishing, especially with a, you know, being taught something that unites body and mind. And then the, you know, the concerns. So then going outside, the green bike, and, you know, it's like, it's, to me, the green bike is like an offer of a solution. And, you know, and yet he has to do this shamanic thing where, you know, this ritual of like, well, it's a solution, but it needs this other thing added to it. And maybe it says, Roy says, that it's the underworld part, the chthonic, you know, the chthonic. So, yeah, I mean, in some ways, it actually seems fairly straightforward. Only we don't really know what it's talking about, you know.
Well, yeah, but I mean, you really fleshed it out. I think the green bike sort of represents the earthy realm, and then the raven represents the dark realm of the ancestors. And we just came from the place where the spiritual aspect of ourselves and our earthy aspect and our realm of the ancestors really can't find a connection. We're stiff. We can't do it. And those who can do it, suddenly we're pushed aside. So what you said is that the one with the green bike represents the solution. And I think he does. And yet we know that there's two aspects of the solution. And it's the rooted realm of the earth. And it's also is this harbinger of the dark herald of the realm of the collective unconscious, the realm of the ancestors, who's represented by this black trickster bird. What do you think, Sarah?
I don't really know what to add other than what you guys all said. You covered it pretty well. But I can't get over the visual of the green rooted bike and then the dead crow and the rubbing of the crow on the arm. Like definitely that's some sort of connection between two different things. And it definitely has a lot to do with grounding and rooting. For sure.
It's a typical ending of an Ivan dream. I mean, Ivan's dreams always end with this just stunning statement. I mean, several of them have. They're just this very stunning statement. And this is one thing that I've noticed about, now Patricia, I think, left. She's not here, but her dream was very mature, you know. Now, I think Ivan's, and your dream, Sarah, was very mature. I think Ivan's dreams have a deep wisdom in them that is very unique. And I don't know sometimes whether we, or Ivan at least, recognizes that too, is just the power of the wisdom of these dreams that he has are just startling. What do you think, Carl?
The crow is or the raven's the one thing that really grabs me about this. I mean, the crow or the raven, he, in all the Native American myths, he's who steals fire from whoever, you know, some god who's hiding it for himself in his tent or teepee or wigwam, and he brings it to man. And I think in the result, he was turned black, somehow singed by it. You know, crows, ravens, seen as psychic. You know, well, they can literally see into the future. That's known. So I think, I mean, the new bike and the new practice of yoga are just like two representations. And yeah, he's getting pushed into the corner, but I feel like that this figure showing him a new bike, I think his dream maker saying, okay, right now, you know that you're not, you're a novice at this stage of whatever you're in or going to be doing. But look, you get a new bike. That's a vegetative, sensate color, and let's rub some of that trickster magic off on your friend here. And I think it's a positive dream. But yeah, let's rub some of this trickster, this fire thief, friend of all of mankind, creator of civilizations in a way, on your arm. So that's what I got.
Yeah, well, what I like about that is the first yoga is something that's fairly, even though it is something we do, it's an Eastern way, and it doesn't have a lot of rich imagery in it, and yet the green bike and the crow's wing, or the raven's wing, seems to have the same theme, but it is absolutely infinitely rich with imagery. So really the analog for yoga is the green bike, okay, and then the analog for connecting body and mind is the crow's wing. So now see what I'm thinking here is green bike is body, and crow's wing or raven's wing is mind, thought, and memory. Yet it is a very European, very Western, very non-Oriental analog to yoga. I mean, it's just, but they seem related, really,
Yeah.
when you look at them. And Carl, that was, I got from you, really, is that they are. And then of course the raven and the crow are very mysterious birds. They talk about thought and memory. Crows will remember somebody who shot at them 20 years ago, and they'll mob him,
Yeah.
and then ravens, they have like 400 different sounds that is kind of like a language and has grammar. And yet, if you go on the other side of the Rocky Mountains, they have they use different terms for different things.
Yep.
But they make the same sound, but it doesn't
Like
mean the same on the east side of the Rockies as it does on the west side. So they speak a different language. But I mean, they're just very human birds.
They're amazing.
Yes, they really are. I used to
individual. Like I have one around here I can recognize by its behavior because it's so friendly to me compared to most. It almost landed in a tree not 20 feet from me, but my dog started leaping at it.
Are you talking about a raven or a crow?
A raven. I live in northern Maine.
Oh,
and
yes.
we have a pair of nesting ravens. They had 5 young, so then there were 7 of them around for a while. But I was plucking feathers from some geese I'd shot one day, and I looked over, and there was a raven about 70 yards away in a tree looking at me. And I was talking to it, just like, "Hey, how's it going? I'm going to give you some of this." And and I did a couple croaks, and he flew towards me, and he was going to land in this little tree. And my dog, he just started freaking out. Ravens, crows, eagles, he chases them all. So, and I was just amazed this thing was going to land that close because they're so smart and they're usually very
like a gray parrot. I mean, they are one of the smart. I mean, they're supposedly have the IQ of a 4-year-old child. I mean, they're just so incredibly good at solving problems. So when we're mentioning a crow or a raven, we're not talking about that little bird in Snoopy that flies like this. This kind of dizzy bird. This is a bird.
They're formidable.
A master animal. It is the shaman animal.
There
and
are-
and it's, go ahead.
Yeah, I think that like a psychopomp, spirit guide.
Exactly. I mean, it has an aspect of it that is, I don't care if I see it in outside my window or I see it in a dream, it almost is the same bird. I mean, they
Yep.
have this aspect of them that is otherworldly, you know. I mean, like I'll be going along, well, I see them a lot out west, and I'm walking through Yellowstone and at a parking lot, and hear these ravens. They walk like you know, sort of an old man, you know, they're never in a hurry. It looks like their feathers are too big for them, you know, and I mean their raven suit is too big for their body, so they're kind of their wings are sort of droopy and everything, but they're just you know, I was saying I wanted to live near ravens and magpies and Steller's jays because they're my favorite birds. But you know,
We don't have Stellers here, but we have a gray jay, a Canadian jay.
yeah, it's a gray
Sometimes
jay.
get out of your
Yeah,
hand.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
But
Maine is an amazing place. You know.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
One more thing.
Are you
I wanted to
French
mention.
at all?
Actually, no. I'm German, Irish, Scottish, English. Though I lived, and my first ancestor came from, well, one of my first ancestors on my mom's side. Well, on my mom's side, the first one who came to Maine, came from Germany and settled in Biddeford, Maine, which is a very French town.
Yeah.
Which
They
is funny.
speak
I didn't.
French in Maine.
Oh yeah.
Some people,
Yeah.
some of the older
Cormier.
people, yeah, still speak
Cormier. I lived
French.
next to some Cormiers. They were from northern Maine. They had French, you know, northern French Maine accents.
Yeah, because they're
Yeah.
actually a lot of Canadian. They're Canadian
Yes.
French from
We have a lot of French
first
Canadians.
settlers
where
of
it's from.
Canada. You know, but anyway, just to get back to the dream, I think the first part is the aspect of the of we're disconnected from our body and yet we're too stiff. There's an aspect we can't connect with it. This connecting body and mind through yoga or through somewhat abstract method really doesn't work. We need one. You know, there's no symbols in yoga. You know, so how do you connect the body and mind? We need the image realm to connect body and mind. We need colors, and we need plants and rooted things, and we need these amazing beings of the birds. You know, this master bird, the raven. So now between our friend with the green bike and our raven's wing, this is how we cure our stiffness, how we cure the inability to connect two things together, which yoga means. You know, so yoking two things together. The way that we yoke two things together is through rootedness, through the fluidity of being able to move with these two wheels, and through I'm kind of stretching or reaching here, but also the this chthonic master shaman bird, you know, that is so fascinating. Roy, do you have any further thoughts about it or not?
Well, yeah, I've been experiencing yoga for the last 10 years. And since we've lost our connection with nature, modern man, that's one form of reconnecting with the body. And I think it probably works better than nature now because we've destroyed nature so much that you can't experience it like it used to be. So I think the first part with the yoga is very important. And people have tremendous resistance when they start yoga because they don't understand it. But it can definitely connect the mind and the body really well in modern times. In the second part, I have a question for Ivan. this is sort of normal behavior. The first part, everything's sort of normal. And the second part, the guy with the green bike's kind of normal. But to pick up a dead crow and rub it on your friend's arm, it's an ego consciousness. That's sort of abnormal behavior. But in a dream, it would be sort of some kind of a magic or shamanic something. What does Ivan have to say about how he felt doing that? I mean, what was that about, according to Ivan?
It felt in the dream sort of like a childish impulse, like like I'm just gonna rub this on you sort of thing, like bothering your friend.
Was it playful, or was it a little bit of maliciousness in there because he was showing off with his bike?
Both.
Okay, that's what I was thinking. Okay, that's what I have to say.
Yeah, I don't know how much free will is involved in it, though. I think there's some aspect that we just did it, and we didn't.
With the affectivity, he had affectivity.
Yes, I mean there was, but sometimes who made the decision to do it, and where did it come from, is another thing. It just happened to be there. Who brought the raven's wing? And then why would we pick it up and rub some? There's a symbolic act there of great significance. First, that the wing is there. It's the wing of a crow or a raven. And then we do this almost magical thing of rubbing this friend's thing. So
that's the unconscious part. That's totally
right.
Unconscious. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, to me, it might have a certain mocking character, but it still is completely magical, so maybe we didn't know what we were doing. We thought we were mocking them, but they really. Now, Gary, what do you have to say about like fox walk and things like that? I mean, what are you trying to do when you're trying to get in contact with your feet on the ground?
Well, yeah, I mean, to me, it's just like, okay, so one of the things is that, they've shown that, if you really want to just completely quiet the mind as much as possible, you're actually better off doing it in nature. Because if you, as soon as like you close your eyes and go inward, it sets off all sorts of, brain waves and things. Mm-hmm. And then, but the fox walk is just a mindfulness act. So it's like, just being as aware of your body and the environment as you can possibly be. Because when you're doing the super slow walk, everything around you just changes dramatically. It's like, what was kind of like not even really being taken in now really stands out. And really, even in this, when he does that action in kind of a playful way, it's like, the part of us which is like, trying to introduce something new, I think that's coming across in a playful way, and I suppose, the slightly malicious, it's kind of like, haha, let's introduce something new to maybe get this going.
Yeah, that's I just see when I see you very slowly walking in that fox walk, that's a very interesting yoga. What do you think, Sarah? Do you have any concluding thoughts on the dream?
Was it Roy that said that the crow represented the realm of the ancestors?
That was Craig.
That was you, Craig. Okay, yeah. Because I keep thinking of the crow as like ancient wisdom, like ancestral wisdom. A lot of times to me, I feel like I get visited by relatives who have passed through crows and ravens, so it's from another realm. It's like wisdom from another realm.
Yes.
Almost. You're rubbing it on his arm. Oh yeah, look what I got. I got some of this.
Yeah, my wife, when her sister died in I think 1977, the song that they played at her funeral is Blackbird singing in the dead of the night. So when she returns to Grinnell, which is where she stays in a hotel there, and the blackbird flies up to her window and starts tapping on the window.
Hmm.
You know, it's just really interesting. What, Carl, do you have any concluding comments? And by the way,
Yeah.
we got a dream from, I think, your companion, Angela. Is that how you describe her? Or?
Yes, my girlfriend.
Okay, your girlfriend. Okay, well, Angela, why don't we work on that on Monday? Because
I have
it
one
looks like
thing
a
to
pretty
add.
good dream. I just put it in the chat. So what do you think, Carl? And Angela will it'll get. I love to have it early because it gives me a chance to digest it a little bit, you know. But I either way, but I think we can do a better job if we have it to look at. Okay.
It's perfect. Monday is great. Thank you.
Yes. Okay. Well, we're gonna get on it next time. Nice to meet you too, Angela. And
Nice to meet you too.
yeah, feel free to speak up. Don't let Carl hog all the airtime. Carl, did you have any concluding thoughts on the dream?
Yeah, my aunt lived in this house for a long time. When she was dying, my mom and my sister were taking care of her in the room to the east over here.
Mhm.
She died. My mom said that there were two ravens sitting on the lawn calling when she died.
Mhm.
And I just thought I'd mention that. That's
Yeah, I mean they are actually they're I can't think of a bird I like. I like magpies a lot, but I can't think of one that more rivets me than a raven, you know. Well, Ivan, what do you think? I mean, it's a good start on this dream. I don't say that we've gotten to the truth of the dream yet, but what do
Well,
you think?
we got really far. That added a ton for me. I just had this dream maybe 2 days ago, and I was totally confused by it. But it feels like it's kind of clicking. I think so. The mind body connection makes sense. Just to add some context, I've actually been doing yoga for like 15 years.
Mm,
So, to me, it was very much about something that I'm rigid with, and most people would describe me as a pretty grounded, down to earth person, I think. And so I almost wonder if really like I might be the person with the bike, and something is trying to tell me like you're too rigid with just this, and you need another aspect added to it. But so then the key to me for me is what does the raven represent? Because everything I heard about what the raven could represent made sense to me, but I don't know that it's I don't know which one it is.
yeah. Yeah, well, it's just such a wonderful image with the starkness of the yoga class. Now, let me ask you one question: are you stiff when you do yoga, or are you have a fluid movements? Okay.
Both. I'm stiff in some places, fluid in
Okay.
others.
You're fairly fluid.
Yeah, when I was younger, I thought of it more as like a stretching flexibility thing, and then it really became more about the union of mind and body is connection, meditation, spirituality, all that stuff. And so now I don't even really worry about it too much if I'm feeling rigid or stiff. It's just kind of part of the experience.
Yeah, well, that's very interesting to know that you've been doing yoga for a long time. That kind of helps, adds another element to the dream. Well, anyway, next time we'll start with Angela's dream, and I think either Dawn or Gary or Sarah, if you want to get a dream together too, we'll be glad to work on that. I mean, particularly you, Sarah. I mean, you've had 2 dreams, and they've just been fabulous. And I think Dawn, we've just done one of yours, I think, but maybe it was 2. But I mean, both of you had these wonderful dreams, and I'll tell you something else. This is probably prejudice, but I always more enjoy, or there's an aspect of the feminine dream that is particularly appealing. you know, and I don't know what it is, but a dream of the feminine. Always, it is so. Usually, it's. I guess it's because it's strange to me, but it just has a wonderful magical quality to it. So, anyway, and Angela, I'll start working on your dream right away. So, thank you, everybody, and thank you, Ivan, and thank you, Roy, both, and we'll see you guys all Monday, hopefully. Okay, bye, everybody. Bye, Sarah, Dawn.